And action. We are live. We are back. The boys are back in town. Boys are back in town. Boys are back in town.
Who's that by, Graham? Who did that?
Finn Lizzie. There you go. Interesting fact, though. Do you know who once was guitarist with Thin Lizzy? Well, do you know who was guitarist with Thin Lizzy? There were several guitarists.
No, I'm not. You're the real music aficionado in our duo.
So probably the most famous guitarist from Thin Lizzy was Gary Moore. Do you remember Gary Moore?
I know the name.
Out in the fields. Yeah, do you remember that, Gary Moore? Famous guitarist in the. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Parisian Walkways. Yeah.
Okay.
We've got comments coming on already. Hi, boys. Hi, Philippa.
Hi, Philippa.
Hi. Oh, Philippa. I know, Philippa. I'm about to give you, Philippa. I hope you've got your camera and everything working, because I'm about to give you a link so you can come on, because I'd love Philippa. Philippa would be brilliant for this, to play the Guess the Ergo game.
Yes.
All right. So, yeah, you keep talking while I give Philippa the link.
Should I have had the scarf ready, Graham? Am I doing the guessing, or is you doing the guessing, or is she doing the guessing?
Oh, you're doing the guessing today.
Okay.
Have you not got it?
I can get the said scarf once we know it's going ahead.
Yeah.
So I can depart and do that. So.
Hopefully it will be going ahead. I'm just going to put a link into Philippa's LinkedIn so that she might be able to join us shortly. That would be brilliant. Philippa, if you're listening, thanks.
Has she not done this before?
She's done the show before, but obviously not since we've been doing the Guess the Ergo game.
Yeah.
Which is everybody's favourite part of the show, as we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a shame. You'd think it was the intelligent comment and witty banter, but actually no, it's just the ridiculous game.
It's a brummie with a scarf tied around his head and some random ergonomic object. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's obviously the right thing. So anyway, back to
Thin Lizzy, guitarist,
Gary Moore. But they also had, for a brief period, somebody else who you might not think of as a guitarist, but actually he's a fantastic guitarist.
Oh, God.
That played with them. And I'm just going to say, it means nothing to me who this.
It means Vienna. So it must be Ultravox. So it must be.
Yeah.
Oh. Give us a clue. No.
It's not a gnat. It's not a gnat. It's not a fly. It's a. Come on, Stephen. It's not a gnat. It's not a fly.
Wasp?
It's a. No. It's a midge.
Midge. Who actually is on LinkedIn, isn't he? He's quite active on LinkedIn.
Very, very active on LinkedIn. Yeah, Midge actually played.
No, I had him only you with him as a vocalist.
No, he's a fantastic multi-instrumentalist.
Right.
And a really, really, if you have a look at some of his videos on LinkedIn, you'll see what a great guitarist he is.
Right.
Fantastic guitarist. But of course, everyone thinks because of Ultravox, etc., that he must have been keyboards, if anything. And he does. He plays keyboards, but he plays lead guitar superbly. So there you go.
Oh, right.
He was also in Thin Lizzy for a bit. Check that out. Okay, so hopefully Philippa will be joining us soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whilst we're waiting for Philippa, do I need to go and get said scarf?
You need to go and get said scarf, and in the meantime, I'm going to talk to people about what's been going on this week. So, what has been going on in the world of ergonomics this week? Well, really, it's all about climate change at the moment. It's all about what we're going to do. COP26 and all of this, it's all about what we're going to do to save the planet. And so with that in mind, a lot of people have been turning their attention to sustainability, and we'll come back to that as a subject in a minute. But first and foremost, we've got to play the game. Now, I've got my scarf, but you've got your scarf, which is even better. Let's have it there, Stephen. Sutton Coldfield. There you are. You're still on mute. You need to take yourself off mute a minute. There we go.
The Mighty Royals.
Absolutely. And joining us today for this fantastic game, we have Philippa. Thanks,
Hello.
Philippa, for joining us again.
Hello, you two. How are you?
Oh, we're great.
Good.
We're always good. What's been going on in the land of Philippa?
Oh, Graham, teaching Pilates online as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, just having a whale of a time. Can't beat it.
Yeah. What sort of whale is it?
Couldn't possibly answer.
No, absolutely not. Right. So this game, Philippa, which we now play every week, just because it pushes the ratings up, and there's no other reason for it.
It's to try and embarrass me, basically. He's trying to catch me out. That's what he's. That's why he does
actually, you've done much better than I have. To be fair, I mean that last one that you sent me, though, was a challenge and a half.
Was that with the 3 people in it and product? That was killer, wasn't it? Really.
That was hard. So what happens is Stephen is going to put on his Sutton Coldfield scarf, Philippa, and then he can ask you questions about a ergonomic product. Now, in this case, I've actually got it here, so I don't actually have to put it up on the screen this time. I'm gonna hold it up so you can see it.
Oh,
and he can ask questions about it, and you can just answer yes or no. You may, if he's really struggling, start to give him a little bit of a steer.
Tips. Okay.
Yeah, some little tips about it. Okay, so Steve,
I hope I can tell what it is.
well, that's what makes it fun if you don't know what it is. Right.
Is this? I'm trying to think. Is this a rip-off of something that actually is on the telly, or have we patented a game?
I'm sure it is somewhere on the telly, but not with Ergo objects. So we have patented a new game. That is it. Yeah. If any other ergonomic show does this, we're suing. Right.
Do any other Ergo shows exist? I thought this was the only show.
This is the only show that exists, so it's not going to happen, is it? But just in case someone decides to ever do an Ergo show, they can't do this game.
Never do a game about guessing with someone dressed in it with their eyes covered by a scarf. Said scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I sort of donning the scarf?
You don the scarf. Yeah. At this point, Philippa, as I normally say to the guests, I'm whispering because I don't want him to hear. We go off to the pub, right?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Which is your best local pub?
Oh, do you know what, Graham? I'm almost teetotal, and I hardly ever go to any pub.
Okay, restaurant then. Let's go restaurant.
Restaurants. Do you know what? I haven't been anywhere. Lockdown. I just haven't been anywhere. I tell you what I do. What I'm about to do actually is go to our local nature reserve. And there's a lovely cafe there, and they do a really good gluten-free cake because I'm gluten-free, I'm dairy-free. It's a real challenge. So, but I know this absolutely. I will be enjoying some gluten-free cake later on at my local nature reserve.
Well, obviously we can't sell on LinkedIn, but we can give them a quick plug. Which is your local nature reserve?
It's called Wisby, WHISBY, and it's in North Highcombe on the edge of Lincoln, and it's really lovely. They've done a really nice job there.
Okay, that's brilliant. So actually, when you turn up later, if any of them are watching, because of that nice plug, free cake and coffee.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that was. That's what we're about on this show, free cake and coffee. Okay, so here's the product.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, right? That's interesting. Okay. And look, it does this as well. Look at that. And there's the back of it, so you can see the back of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I know
a little bit of that.
You know what it is, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Did you hear that noise? Because that could be key.
Yeah, I did. It sounded like it was something was being pumped.
Yeah, let me give you that again. Yeah. Sounds like my car in the morning. Right.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, first guess, please.
Okay. Philippa, is it made from metal or plastic?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there will be more plastic than metal in that thing.
Okay, all right. Is it something you can sit on?
Not exactly.
Ooh, that's the best way of putting it. Not exactly.
Okay. If you wouldn't sit on it, would it support you in any way?
It would.
Okay. You might not know this, and I'm going to ask Graham this. Is it a new product, Graham?
Not really.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it a lumbar support off a chair?
No.
Okay. Is it anything to do with the chair?
Yes.
Is it part of a chair?
No.
I'm going to throw you out slightly here, Stephen. Right?
Okay.
Philippa, what do you, outside of what it actually is, what do you think it looks like?
Oh, it looks like a pair of angel wings, Graham.
Yeah. Pair of angel wings, or a really funky satellite dish.
Yeah. Or a funky aerial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Is it a back support for a chair?
Yes, it is.
Is it? I know. It's one of those chairs. Is it one of those chairs that splits down the middle? That's got a split. Is it the back of a chair that splits down the middle and it supports sort of either side rather than having? And it's got like a cut out for the where your back would go.
It looks like a hug in a chair. It does to me. Yes.
A hug in a chair.
Yeah. So yes, I think you're getting quite close with that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So is it actually a chair, Stephen, or is it?
It's the back of a chair. It's a backrest of a chair with like a cutout for your spine.
Okay, but is it actually just the back of a chair, or is it a separate product away from a chair?
Ooh.
An adaptation.
This isn't a new product. This isn't you said it's not a new product. It's not the product that Nick Arnold's made, is it?
No.
It's not the new Ergo chair product.
No.
Oh. You've got me here.
You do take this very seriously, you two, I must say.
I know.
Absolutely. I think you got.
I need a clue. Give us a clue. Give us a clue.
I think an American friend of yours would know better about what it is. And she would be really disappointed now that you didn't actually know what this is.
An American friend?
Yeah. You know, Lisa would be quite upset that you didn't know what this is.
Oh, would she? Oh.
Yeah.
So it's clearly a Kensington product then?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think you've got me on this one.
Have a look. You want to have a look? Go on.
Have a look.
Yes.
So you were virtually right there.
Almost there.
Very much like the back of a Graal chair. That with the split down the middle.
Yeah.
But it's a back cushion.
But I can see why you said it's like a funky satellite aerial now. It all makes sense.
I'm actually going to try it outside because it might be better than the satellite dish I've got.
Can I just ask, is that like a strap that goes over the back of your chair to hook it?
Okay, now I'm so glad you asked, because what we normally do at this point is we enlighten our guests as to what these products are. Hence why we don't get people on that know what they are, because otherwise that would be telling people their own stuff, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So so interestingly, this is a if you like, it's a kidney support or a back support that supports around the kidney areas for the back of the chair. But it's designed with the straps so that this can fit on any type of chair.
Yeah.
And really, they're selling this so that actually this could fit on something like a kitchen chair etc. So that, rather than if you're sitting on a kitchen chair, a dining room chair, or whatever, that you can have some kind of adjustable back support rather than sitting on that wood at the back.
It reminds me of a thing I bought my husband for the car, because the lumbar support in our car was inadequate, and I wonder if he could put it in a car, Graham.
Well,
funny you should mention that.
There's another product coming out soon.
Which is the one which I said, which what I thought it was.
Is that what you were thinking?
Which when it comes out, we shall have on the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is designed for the back of a car. But there you go. That is what it is. Lots of other back cushions are available, but that particular one was from Kensington. So yeah, I mean, in terms of we're getting through people being locked in their houses now, Philippa, although it may happen again at Christmas, who knows.
True.
Are you still, when you're doing Pilates, etc., with people at home, are you still finding, in terms of, are you talking to them about their setups? Are people still sitting here, there and everywhere at home to work?
To be honest, a lot of the people I work with are not working.
They're not working.
They've got time on their hands and
Brilliant.
They're having a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people are still working at home. This isn't going away, actually, is it? Actually, I did a presentation to a group of people this week who are sales reps, drug sales reps. And so historically, this was a role where drug sales reps would travel to appointments at hospitals. And so clearly hospitals don't want anybody coming there who doesn't have to be there. And so these drug reps are now taking their businesses pretty much all online. And in actual fact, there's economies are being gained from doing it this way, so that they can transfer their information just as easily with a Zoom call as potentially as they could with, oh, look, that's nice. Sarah said, hello, beautiful people. That's not a word that's used in my context all the time. But anyway, I'm usually giving them a bit of torture as a physiotherapist. But yeah, so this isn't going away, is it? And I think even for people who are returning to the office, that people are negotiating to have a couple of days at home, even if it's not the whole week, and that businesses are having to respond to these requests. So this is not going away, Graham. And people, they do need to consider that home setup. I mean, you're the ergonomist, and you know about this stuff, and it is so important. This was really the foundation of my presentation, was around the fact that when you are working from home, to build some movement into that part of your day, even if you just stand to work, having an adjustable desk, the sit-stand desk, or just taking a break from the screen for 5 minutes every half an hour or so, just to do some stretches, move around briefly, give your body a break. And these, the supports that you talk about go some way to remind us about our posture, which is the most important thing. I think it was even you that said this, Graham, the more comfortable the chair, the longer that we will sit in it. And that is not necessarily a good thing.
No.
So, so moving around through part of your day, take a break, whether it's in your coffee time, when you stand up and do a few stretches, whatever it is. Really use the adaptations, use the equipment, because it is important to adopt ideal postures for as much of the time as possible. It is important that we've got our wrists at the right angles for the point of view of carpal tunnel, and the head and neck alignment is really crucial. However, once we get comfortable, we've got to remember to not be there for too long and to move around periodically. So I'm really happy I had the opportunity to come and share that nugget of information.
No, absolutely. Are there, just before you go, are there any little stretches that we can all perhaps be doing as we work at our desk? Just a tiny snippet.
Tiny snippet. I'm moving. You can see I'm moving the camera. I'm actually going to take my clothes off. Well, not all of them. just some.
This is a first for Wow Ergonomics.
Okay, so even sitting at your desk, you could just draw gentle circles with your nose, so that you. And sometimes, if you close your eyes briefly, again, you're giving your eyes a break from the screen. Just draw those gentle circles with your nose. And you can make the circles as small or as big as you want, and maybe getting bigger as you go on, and then change direction and go the other way. So you get the opportunity to do that in both directions. Now, everybody at home is starting to get dizzy at this point because they're watching us twiddle their heads around, and then come to look the eyes ahead of you. And actually, do you know, one thing that's really nice is to give yourself a pat, because we generate a lot of tension in the upper fibers of trapezius, and you can actually generate quite a lot of soft tissue relaxation just by giving yourself a pat. And it's quite invigorating, actually, if you need waking up. If you've got
Stephen, you've always said you needed to give yourself a pat on the back.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, if nobody else is doing it, give yourself one. That's
absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I joined in a webinar yesterday, and there was a guy on from a guy called Roy Essendon, who's an ex-professional footballer, and he did one trick, and he was talking about when you were one tip, I should say, and he was using a tennis ball and was saying about sitting on, take it in turns on different buttocks to sit on a tennis ball, and how that would actually help with some of the sort of the tension in your legs. So you'd sort of sit the tennis ball and then sort of roll it down the back of your hamstring, I guess, and position it nearer the edge of the chair as well. He was doing some, and he sort of brought this tennis ball out and go, here's the next bit of equipment. I thought, what on earth is he going to do with this? But it was all around tennis ball under your leg between the chair.
Well, so you're doing myofascial release techniques with those, with a small ball, and it could be a dryer ball, a dog ball, a tennis ball. There's, any sort of, and actually you can even sort of massage yourself with the ball in the shoulders. So it's the neck and shoulders, it's the back, the low back. Those are the common areas you will know this, where people struggle. And so don't spend too long sitting on one cheek lifted on a ball. But you're going to get some nice release into the deep gluteal muscles, piriformis in particular, which can also give you referred pain down your leg. Hamstrings, they're always tight for lots of people, and sitting doesn't help that. So I like to give myself a pat and just generally move the shoulders around. Not be still. Look at that. I'm trying to do it equally and realizing that I'm not. That's quite funny. This is quite a nice one, because the one thing, when you're sitting at your desk, actually you're forwards. Your posture is very forward. So this is opening the shoulders, opening the elbows backwards. Is counteracting that forwards posture. So when you do this, you feel your shoulder blades coming towards each other as you do that, and that's really nice, opening the chest as well. And then a really good one for the wrists. I'll show you this one. So when you're doing keyboard work, you tend to be in flexion, wrist flexion. Yes. So the antidote to flexion is extension. And so if you put your middle finger underneath your thumb there, yes, and you're going to flick your fingers, right? So you flick. Can you hear the noise of it? Yeah. Yes. So you want to make a noise.
Knuckles cracking.
No, it's not.
Oh, no.
So, and the thing that you do want is try and
That's just me.
Wrist extension. Okay, come, take it seriously. Come on, we've got to do this. So wrist extension, finger extension, and flick, 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 flick. Now, choreography. We've got one up, one down. Flick, flick, flick. Yeah, face it down. The other way. Come on, this is fun.
Graham's now in a field.
Flick, flick.
I just want to know what happens if we say abracadabra while we're doing it.
Okay, now it's a race. Okay, it's a race. Fast as you can, fast as you can, fast as you can, fast as you can. Can you feel your forearms burning? Oh,
you're about to fall off.
Oh, and then your fingers literally will not move. Have a rest. Shake it out. Shake it out. There you go. So that's working the forearm extensors. Again, it's counteracting that wrist flexion. So
what you've just said is so important. I mean, people don't realise this. You know, if you're about to go for a run, you would do some warm-up exercises prior to go for a run. You know, you're going to use your hands, your wrists, your fingers, etc. before you start typing during the day. You need to warm up.
Yeah.
You need to actually do a warm-up first.
Yeah.
I expect to see everybody doing this tomorrow.
Yeah, this is a nice warm-up. We call this cat's paws. You can think of how a cat would knead. Knead on its mother or knead on a piece of furniture that you'd really rather it didn't. But cat's paws, that's lovely, isn't it, Beth? And then you can practice this. This is a good one, Graham. This is a mind tease.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Whoa,
Oh, this is like.
Yeah.
Spock.
So you take it in turns with your fingers.
Nanu.
Oh, nanu, yeah.
I am taking it seriously, don't worry. I love Walker
Mindy,
didn't you? Didn't you? Love Walker Mindy.
Yeah, simple thing.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. No, thank you so much, Philippa.
You're welcome.
If anyone wants to connect with Philippa on LinkedIn and get more advice on limbering up, warming up, please do. That's superb. And I always love that painting behind you as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's joyful. Where is that? Do you know where that actually is?
Oh, it's a fictional place.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's totally fictional. I don't think
somewhere in your mind. There you go. Philippa, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and playing the Ergo game. You were fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks,
bye
Philippa.
for now.
Good weekend.
Oh, wasn't that brilliant? Now, not one, but two. Sarah.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh,
How
thanks
are
for joining us. Yes,
yeah,
we are
well, I was
fine.
just finishing up with a client and I was like, this pinged up. I went, oh. So here I am.
Just like that. Just like that.
Just like that.
What is it you do, Sarah?
I'm a healing health coach. So for people that don't necessarily know it, I work on 5 modalities and I like to call them MMF.
Right.
Which probably doesn't mean a lot.
What was that, MMF?
Yeah, MMF. Well, it's what the 5 modalities.
I drink that at weekends.
Yeah.
Well, when you tend to feel a little bit out of sync or out of whack, you tend to be like, meh, you know, how are you? Meh. So mine stands for your mental health, your emotional health, your nutritional health, your physical health, and your hormonal health. Because without all 5 of these being in the right alignment, you're going to be meh.
I get that.
There you
I
go.
get that all the time. Yeah, I see that.
So that's what it is, being a healing health coach. Working on all 5 modalities of what your mind, body, soul, spirit actually requires. I find that a lot of the clients that I work with have come to me as like a last chance. You know, they've been potentially feeling physical pain, for example, you know, upset stomachs, and they've been told, oh, well, you could potentially have an intolerance. But then the tests that they go through come back negative, and they're like, well, what else could it be? There's something not quite right. Or you've went through counselling and they've unblocked certain aspects of your life that you didn't think were really blocked, but then something after it still tells you that there's still something not quite right. You know in yourself, you know you best. So you know when you're not quite in alignment or not quite in the right space, or, you know, you want to do something, but you just feel like you're a little bit in sinking sand. And every avenue that you go through that is classed or deemed as the normal avenues to go down just doesn't turn the thing up that you know is not quite right. So I kind of come in as last chance Sarah. That's what one of my clients called me.
Last chance Sarah. There you go. Not last chance saloon, last chance Sarah. In terms of the pandemic, have you seen an increase in people coming to you?
Absolutely. It was the reason why I actually went legitimate and created the limited company, because the amount of overwhelm that people were feeling and seeing and hearing when the start of the pandemic happened. A lot of people came to me at the start because their thought process was, well, I'm not at work, so I'll spend a little bit of time and I will get fit, and it means that when I come back out the lockdown in a couple of months' time, I'll be feeling great. And then a couple of months later, the pandemic still hadn't finished. If anything, it got worse. And then they'd come back to me and went, well, it's not just the weight that I now need to look after, it's my mindset. I'm feeling really kind of, cocooned. And I often say that the pandemic has brought on typically two types of people. You've either got the people that are like, yes, I can't wait to get back out into it, or no, I don't want to do any of this. And it's all because of the beliefs and the assumptions that we have created around what our perceptions are. So yes, absolutely, there has been a very much heightened experience when it comes to people's general health as the bigger aspect. When it comes to the pandemic and the lockdown and how it's affected everyone.
And we've spoken about this, Graham, haven't we? About yes, there's people who want to get back to the office, and we've covered it from an ergonomic perspective and an economic perspective. But actually, we've also said how many people will be the other way, where actually some people just cannot face physically going back to the office, where this sort of working from home or restriction on their movement is something that actually they won't be able to turn back very easily. And that sounds like what you're saying there, Sarah, is that a lot of people actually just don't want to do it, and it's going to be a challenge for them leaving the house on a regular basis compared to going back to what they were doing 2 years ago is completely alien to them now, isn't it? That whole concept.
Oh, absolutely. Like I say, when it comes to the two people, I say that obviously they all come down, and I always say bottlenecks. It's the end result and the end outcome is always the same. So when you've got these people that are like, oh my God, yes, it's the end of the pandemic, I can go out drinking, and I can go out and be who I want to be, and I can go out and do whatever I want to do it, and I'm like out there skipping and hopping down the road before they've even registered. But then they've got this massive overwhelm of, oh well, I've got to go and see this person, I've got to do this person, I've got to show up this way, and then I've got to get back to work, and it becomes overwhelmed because they've now just put so much pressure and expectation of themselves because of their presumptions and their perception and their beliefs of how they accepted and how they feel aware of how the lockdowns happened. And then on the opposite side, you have these people that have quite comfortably lived, for terms of a better word, in their own bubble and succeeded and become really kind of quite happy with the situation and the circumstances that they've now got themselves into. And again, it's the same belief, but now because the pandemic and the lockdown's now lifting out, it's the same thing. They've now got this overwhelm of, now I've got to go outside, now I've got to talk to people, now people are going to be seeing me for who I am and what I am, and what if they don't see me in the same light as what they did online and Zoom, and they only see me from here upwards, they don't see the lower half, and I'm maybe not comfortable with how I look or how I feel, and then the overwhelm happens. So regardless of the people, regardless if it's the people that want to get out or the people that don't want to get out, the bottleneck is it seems to be this massive amount of overwhelm and anxiety that's building. And I feel that especially since the summer, it's been like a pressure pot just bubbling, and I think this first year of being in the festivities and the period where everyone wants to celebrate, I think there's going to be a really big kind of point where everything's just going to bubble over, and that is going to be where you're going to start seeing some really significant numbers and statistics changing when it comes to the physical, the mental, and the emotional kind of situations that we are living in.
Now, what I want to do is bring this back to ergonomics, which may not be a subject you know an awful lot about. You might do. You might have a degree in ergonomics. Don't know. Sarah, is that true?
I don't have a degree in ergonomics, no, but I do know quite a lot about anatomy because I'm a kinesiologist and a personal trainer, and so
right,
come on,
absolutely.
hit me with it.
Right, so a lot of ergonomics it centers around kind of physical adjustment and putting things into place, and therefore with that there's some science in it in terms of posture and in terms of weight loading on the body, etc. But take it from your perspective, whilst we might talk about it's good to use this here because you're adopting a more open posture, etc. Just what from your perspective, forget the kind of physical angles and weight loadings, etc., but from your perspective with this, if you like, more holistic viewpoint of it, what benefits does adopting some of these processes and some of these more open and fluid postures actually help a person with full stop?
Realignment.
Great. Go for it.
One word answer.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. I work on a combination of techniques that, as far as I'm aware, has never been worked on before when it comes to being in your best or being realigned or being in alignment. And I work on intuition and frequencies. To put frequencies in context, when you are in a car park, you can be in a car park full of cars. The cars can even be the same make, the same model, the same year, the same spec, right? They can be identical. But you've got a key fob, and that key fob will only open up your car. Yeah, won't open up anyone else's, and that's a frequency. Yeah, you go inside and you're behind a wall, you push that key door, it won't open that car. What that is a disruption. And this is what ergonomics actually implies. When you have to realign yourself, you're having to put yourself in a position where your body naturally wants to be, not where it feels distorted, like behind a wall. Our bodies, if we break it down into its smallest molecular level, it is a frequency. Everything is frequency. Food have frequencies. The atmosphere has frequencies. We could sit here and we could get really excited, and I could tell a joke that necessarily you wouldn't understand, but as soon as I laughed and as soon as one of you other laughed, we would all laugh because the frequency becomes aligned with everyone else within that situation. It's the same thing with mirroring. When you're having a conversation with someone and you start doing this, naturally, the ergonomics is you want to be aligned with that person, so you're going to do the same. And this is all to do with frequencies. And the work that I do, I work a lot based on the premise of being out of whack. A lot of people with the modalities that I work with have misalignments, which is causing some sort of disruption internally. So for me, when it comes to more a holistic view, as opposed to the physical aspects of you have to sit like this in order to be open, and it's the same thing, but it's not something that you actually register with because we've become so dull or dumbed down to recognizing these things. You know, when you get excited about something, or you're looking forward to something, that feeling in your stomach, that excited feeling, that adrenaline that's bubbling away deep down inside, that's a frequency. You know, that feeling when you feel upset or you feel a little bit kind of distraught, and the feeling in your head, it feels fuzzy and you want to kind of curl yourself up, that's a frequency. And your body has become in tune with certain frequencies, then causing an effect on how you present yourself and how you step into whatever that is, whether it's hunching yourself over, whether it's a bad habit of being at the keyboard, like the lady had said, and you're at that angle because it's the body has now recognized that that's the alignment in order for you to be in that set of this is what I need to do and this is how I need to show up. But it's not necessarily right for you in terms of the ergonomic design of how our bodies are meant to move or how our bodies are meant to feel.
Right. So I
just blew you out of the water there.
No, it's great. So because this is all new stuff, which we can now start talking about in terms of how do we break these habits. One of the things that we found as really frustrating as ergonomists going through the whole pandemic is trying to say the same things over and over and over to people, right? And people will go, I'm getting neck pain, I'm getting back pain, etc. And you say, well, you're hunching over your desk, you're using your laptop down there, you're not raising it up, you're not adopting these postures, and yet people just continue to go back to it. What is it then that can break that habit, and how can we see that not from an ergonomy point of view, but if you like the frequency point of view? So that's interesting.
Habits.
Right.
You change somebody's habits. So if you have, for example, I'll use something that's quite broad, but it's something that's spoken about a lot. Somebody that's depressed. What is actually going on with their body is they're in a state of feeling long-term powerlessness. Okay, so the belief is that they're not good enough, or they've had something traumatic which has given them the experience of not feeling great. So they will naturally be like this all the time because they've then got themselves into that mindset of, I don't want to be this, I don't want to be that, I want to be curled up, I don't want to be seen, I don't want to be heard in that way. But when you change that habit and change that mindset for depression, for example, you then talk about, see the colors of the world, ground yourself, do things that's outside of what you are classing as your normal habit stacking, because ultimately our brains just want us to look after each other, and it doesn't understand if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It just understands that this belief protects us, and that's what we're going to do. So in terms of an ergonomic, if somebody was to then sit down and be constantly in this position, and you're telling them, you need to be lifting this up, you need to be positioning your seat, you need to have this support. If they're not doing it, you need to change the habit. So you need to change the way that they're looking at it. So ultimately, you then say, right, okay, so the habit is you're doing this all the time. Okay, so what you need to do in order to break that habit is to change the dysfunction, change the conflict. They're not going to change this, but you can change something outside of the box. So every hour you need to go outside and stretch your legs. It's nothing to do with this, but it changes the position, which then changes the habit. For example, me, I work in my home. I have 3 kids, 3 dogs, chaos all the time. And people always say to me, you know, how often do you work out? Because part of who I am is a personal trainer. And I'm like, I work out twice a week for 30 minutes. And they're like, how the hell can you manage to get 10,000 steps or 20,000 steps almost every day? And I'm like, because my habits have changed. Although the criteria of where I am in my environment has completely morphed, and I went through a stage very much of doing bad habits, I recognized and went, I need to get out of that funk. So I need to now do something that creates a new habit. So to start with, I created an alarm. So every hour I would get up, I would go to the kitchen, I would put the kettle on, I would go and let the dogs out for a pee, I would step outside with them, take some deep breaths, come back in, return to work. The next hour, right, it's now squats. So I would get up and I would just stand at the side of my desk and do 10 squats. Over 21 days, consistently doing something, your body will start to accept it and it will become habitual. So it's not necessarily telling them what they already know, because common sense isn't common practice, but it's distinctly making that conflict a disruption to what is normally what they would do, that changes the whole aspect of what they would do when it comes to the ergonomic side of things.
That's brilliant. Do you know what I find really fascinating about this, Stephen, is that what we've had on here today, thank you so much for this, Sarah. We've had Sarah coming on talking about this from one perspective. We've had Philippa coming on and talking about this from a completely different perspective. We obviously talk about it from an ergonomic perspective. We're actually all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And you just think, you know, if people stop for a minute and realize that you've got lots of people saying virtually all of the same thing from different perspectives, it's got to be something in that. Yeah. So it's brilliant that you've come on and said that today, Sarah, because I think people need to hear that there is an alignment actually in terms of what's being said. It might be being said from a different perspective, but there is definitely an alignment. All of these people are saying the same thing. You need to stop just sitting there and vegetating.
I think it's just more, it's more the fact that if the world was the same and everyone within it was the same, it would be a very boring and very linear black and white world. Yeah. And thankfully, the world is full of bright, colorful, different aspect, perceptions, assumptions, beliefs, and every single one of them needs bespoke, unique people to help them figure out whether it's something that fits them or whether it's something that doesn't. And that's what makes the world such a beautiful place, because everyone has that opportunity to explore different avenues to find what works best for them. You know, it might be simply just being told, stop sitting like that, do this, do that. Okay, perfect. Now I'm good to go. It might be doing physio, you know, and doing the pussycat and the kneading and things. Or it might be actually going, okay, I need to disrupt what it is that I'm doing, because my brain automatically switches off because I'm in a place of comfort because the habit has now been created. So I need to step away from that habit to cause that conflict and that disruption to then create something different, which will help me with the same result.
Fantastic.
It's interesting. Someone I was talking to yesterday was saying about this whole working from home and working from the office. And I know we've talked about it, but someone was actually saying the physical difference they've noticed is when they were in the office, they would leave and get a glass of water. They would go to the coffee machine. They would take a lunch break. They would go for a walk in the afternoon. And they were saying what they found with working from home is because it was a more comfortable environment with no one else around and distractions, they cracked on, and before they knew it, it was 1:30, and they hadn't moved for 4 or 5 hours, and they hadn't done anything. And they were saying the office has got the natural disruption built in, just on the nature that there's people there, there's other things happening. If you're sat at home in your house and there's no one else around and there's no distraction by 3 kids and 3 dogs and 2 goldfish and whatever it would be, they were just sitting there and just, and before they knew it, 3/4 of the day had gone. And that's one of the things that I think people have got to get used to, is to how do they incorporate some of that natural distraction of the office when they're working at home?
They need to understand that the beliefs have changed. I'll tell you something. Here's a tip for you. I learned this a couple of months ago, and it still blows my mind. Our brains have over 400 billion thoughts per second. Like, I had to actually watch this like 7 times to actually comprehend the amount of information that was being taken there. 400 billion thoughts per second. But we only register 2,000 of them. Why is that? Because of our belief system.
Wow.
So when we're at home, we're relaxed, we're comfortable. Our brain naturally goes, when we're at home, we need to... So you end up just going and getting lost in whatever it is that you're doing because you're in that relaxed state. When you're at work, it's not that relaxed state, because that 2,000 thoughts aren't the same as the 2,000 thoughts that you would be and have at home. And that's the reason why, like I always say, a lot of the things is it's based on perception, disruption, beliefs, and awareness. If you're not aware of all these things going on, you're going to continue to do the same thing and cause this circle. I hate circles because you don't know where to start and where to end, and it just keeps going. And unless you break that circle, you're going to continue doing the same thing, making the same mistakes, or needing to rectify the same thing, but not knowing where, because the circle just keeps on going.
That's brilliant. I'm going to just put this up for you, Sarah.
Okay.
Okay.
This is from my business partner.
Lovely jumper.
Lovely jumper. I mean, it's sharing the beauty. All right. Lovely jumper. And jealous of your hair. You have got, you've got incredibly long hair, haven't you?
This is, I don't do anything with it. People say, what do you do? I'm like, I braid it. And they're like, what do you use to wash your hair? I'm like, Head and Shoulders 2-in-1.
Yeah.
Well, as you can see from the picture there, Odessa has now got very short hair. But I don't know whether you saw, but a little while back, she had hair like yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and
but we make these changes because our beliefs change. This is a fine example.
She made the change because she donated her hair to Little Princess Trust charity.
Right. So she wanted to, but she wanted to believe in something that was bigger than what she was. You know, that's a fantastic belief. You know, to serve somebody else. And this is the biggest thing, though. Beliefs that we do are created from memories from our past that we believe serve us, like hunching over at a desk. Like having the mindset of being at work versus being at home, you know.
Absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. With your hair and your lovely jumper.
Thank you. I do try.
I love that. I can't do it, unfortunately. Can you do that? No. We used to be able to do that years ago. Well, I could. I don't know. Have you ever had long hair, Stephen?
Never. Oh, lockdown.
Oh, lockdown. He had reasonably long hair. Yeah.
It's only long hair if you can tuck it behind your ear.
Yeah, I had long hair at one point. Yeah. In my wild days. Thank you so much for joining us, Sarah. And Sarah is on LinkedIn. If people want to connect with her, are you on? This is going out on Twitter as well. Are you also on Twitter, or is you?
I'm not on Twitter. No, I struggle with social. I struggle with social media in terms of being able to show up everywhere. And Twitter it's so difficult and moves so quickly that I can't keep up with everything on it. So I tend to just go.
We know about people being struggling with social media. That's why we just do it for them. So that it means that they can be free to live a life while we don't have one. Sarah, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Oh man. Guests galore today. Brilliant, isn't it? Yeah. That's really quite interesting.
And look who's shown up in the comments. Well, the only person commenting. Odessa's on a run of about 15 consecutive comments, I think, isn't she? So,
well, I like this one best. My mind is blown. There you go. It was quite quite mind-blowing conversation. But I do think it's really quite interesting that we had two very distinct viewpoints there. As I say, we've obviously got, over the weeks we've talked about our viewpoint and from an ergonomics perspective, and just talking about using devices, getting angles right and everything else, but actually it all aligns to the same thing.
It was interesting as well, she was saying, Graham, that there's still going to be a big wave of this, isn't it, as people have to start doing things, and as the social sort of calendars open up around Christmas could be Christmas as well.
Let's call it Christmas.
There we go. Isn't that a radio show? I'm sure Kiss do something called Christmas or something. But anyway,
okay.
But thinking about it, almost there's still a wave to come, isn't there, of things as people are sort of either can do more or almost have to do more, or almost put in a position where they have to go back to the office or whatever it would be, and that's going to open up a whole load of anxiety that maybe at the minute isn't coming to the forefront, but when people have to do things and they're pushed into those situations, we're going to see a lot more of that coming forward, and people like Sarah are just going to be busier and busier, aren't they?
Well, I'm going for it a little bit myself, in all honesty. I've got my first I've told you a little while back, I went to my first sort of local gig out in a field somewhere, which is something. Don't get Stephen under the mistletoe. There you go. There's a challenge for another week. But this weekend, Stephen, I'm going to my first gig in London.
Oh, at which venue?
I'm going to the Garage in Islington. So
North London.
North London requires a bit of a trek,
so what are you doing? Are you train or driving or?
Well, interestingly, this is probably not of interest to anybody, but because one knows the better way of getting across London. Yeah, we are from the southwest. We're going to car it to Richmond, leave the car at Richmond, and then take the overground. To High Bridge and Islington, which is I think it's the best way of doing it, because driving around the M25 and going to North London isn't that great. Thanks very much for having us talk to you. So thank you very much for coming on. It's an absolute pleasure.
So who are you seeing? Who's the gig?
I'm seeing a band called Piroshka, which is a bit of a supergroup made up of members of various other bands, including Lush, and a load of indie bands from that kind of era. Nice. And then later in the year, December, I'm seeing a favourite of yours as well. I'm seeing Shed 7 live. So that will be that
Bristol.
Will be
that one, isn't it?
Bristol. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Bristol.
But that's my Bristol. That's my first gig going out in London, and then also later this month I'm going to my first event. So I'm going to the occupational therapy show in Birmingham.
Are you? NEC?
Yes, Birmingham NEC on the 25th of November. Little plug for the OT show there for anyone that's interested in occupational therapy.
I may have to come down and see you down there, Graham.
I think you should. I think you should make it for the day.
Hang on. Am I thinking Wow Ergonomics on the road here, or could that be a bit difficult to...
No, we could do that. We can do it. Yeah. There you go. So that's it. We've wrapped up another week. Thanks for joining us on Wow Ergonomics. Hope you enjoyed the conversation about all things ergonomics and health and well-being. We'll see you again next week, everybody.
Early next week, isn't we on at 9:30 next Friday?
We're on the Friday at 9:30. So it's a breakfast one. I think
bacon butties all round.
I think bacon butties.
Yeah,
I'm going to make a bacon butty. I have to pass you one, or you make one as well.
I'll make my own.
Make your own. Bring your own bacon butty and a cup of tea or coffee, whatever's your want, next Friday at
9:30.
Thank you very much, Philippa, for coming on as well. Love Wow with Graham and Stephen. Thanks for having me. Yep. We loved having you on as well.
Great.
So, until next week, stay safe, everybody out there, and make sure you keep moving, because that's the thing. Bacon and sausage, please. Here you go. Bacon and sausage. Yeah.
I think you need to speak to Mr. Sherryard about that. He'll sort that out. It's not our responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye for now, everybody. Bye for now.